everyone, and welcome along to the latest Monday edition of the TII Bulletin. My name is Craig Dennett and I'm your host this evening. And what's not been the happiest of Mondays, I think it's fair to say, as a Rangers fan, I'm joined tonight to look back a wee bit over the weekend, but also look forward to what we've got coming ahead of us on Wednesday night. So I'm joined tonight by Andy Anderson. How you doing, Andy?
I've had better Monday evenings. Been through the emotions since Saturday afternoon, as I'm sure we all have, but I'm sure we'll get into the guts of it shortly.
We absolutely will. And joined by a late arrival in Ross Chalmers. How you doing, Ross?
Yes, a late sub. I'll lie to you, mate. I won't lie to you, mate. Sorry, I'm not great. It's been a bit of a rough Monday. I'm sure we've all been in the same position today. It's just one of those ones where the emotions start to die down and you just get flashbacks for that game, don't you? It's just it was a bad weekend and the Monday wasn't any better, to be honest.
Yeah, especially if you work in any workplace in Glasgow and you had to go into the office today, it wasn't the happiest experience I think any of us have ever had. Saturday's performance in the Old Firm game was covered in depth last night by Adam, Tommy, and Crawford on last night's podcast. I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a chance to react and give your thoughts on the game as well. Andy, I'll come to you first. What 2 days on, pretty much, what are your overriding emotions? What are your overriding thoughts on Saturday's lunchtime game?
At the moment, I'm putting myself firmly in the camp. I'm trying to be level-headed. I went through the rigmaroles we all have. Saturday afternoon, I was quite cross. Then disappointment, and then you get angry again. If you scroll through Twitter, you get to see snippets of the game. That doesn't help matters. So I kind of ran the emotions from then. But as it sits on Monday night, I think I'm going to try and be a bit more level-headed about it. I don't think we can blame the manager. I've seen so many calls for the manager's head already, and even polls and surveys about how much are you behind them. I don't think that's necessary at the moment. That said, a few more like that, and it is going to be very worrying. It's a very hectic month coming up. We're away to Ajax, then Aberdeen, home to Napoli, I believe, and then away to Tynecastle. So that's a big 4 games in 11 days. So it's going to be a very telling 11 days. But on Saturday's performance, it was atrocious. The only word I can think about is atrocious. The amount of times Rangers switched off showed that we hadn't learned anything from February's game. If they'd done the research prior to the game on Saturday, and Van Bronckhorst has relayed that to them in any way, shape or form, which he told us he has, they've either not listened, worryingly, or they've not managed to do it even more worryingly. The amount of times we switched off, even the first goal, Ryan Kent turning away from a shy, which I believe he thought was his, but it wasn't, and that's irrelevant because you still face the ball and you stop a team who are renowned for fast breaks and fast turnaround of the ball from the ball boys. You have to be aware of that, and we weren't. And that's the same for the first 3 goals, I believe, and then the 4th goal was just a complete disaster from the goalkeeper, who I don't think had his best game at all. Very worryingly so. I was a big believer that John McLaughlin would be a good Rangers number 1 this year. I have my doubts now. That said, I don't think putting McGregor back in is the answer. I've seen that on Twitter as well. So from that sum up, you can see I've been round the houses. And I think that will probably continue until kick-off on Wednesday night, such is the enormity of a bad defeat in an Old Firm game. And it's really, really annoying. Sadly, the only thing that I think can fix it is recruitment. And that window was shut last Thursday. And unfortunately, that's us now till January. I can't see how our tactics can change drastically enough in order to try and close this points gap before we meet Celtic again. And the remit, obviously a Rangers manager's remit, is to drop as little points as possible between certain periods of time. It is now essential that we drop no more until the World Cup kicks off.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary of where my head's probably been at as well. I can see Ross nodding away there. Ross, I'll give you the chance to give a quick summary of your thoughts as well. But I'm really interested in, why do you think we struggled so much against our pace on Saturday? Obviously, as Andy said, the team would have spent all of last week pretty much preparing for the game. They would have watched back footage. They should be experts in what their opponents are going to do, or where their favoured sides are, and all that sort of stuff is. as they come into a big game like that, if they've had a full week to prepare. Why do you think we struggled so much against their pace this time around? We struggled. Last time we struggled was the February game, when it was very similar feeling actually. But we've played games since then, and to be fair, we've been the better team in quite a few of those games. Not least in the Scottish Cup semi-final. What do you think was different about Saturday there?
Mentality, mate. Mentality. That is it. Sometimes I like to take a step back and try and look at the game from a tactical perspective, and maybe try and see some things that we didn't do very well and what Celtic done well. To be honest with you, it was just a mentality thing on Saturday. Celtic wanted it and we didn't. We were not ready for that. I agree with the vast majority of what Andy said there. The bit that I don't agree with is that the manager is blameless. I believe that's what Andy said. I might have picked that up wrong. Van Bronckhorst has a lot to answer for that. Now, I don't want to be too critical here, but there's this thing that I keep seeing everywhere about Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, and once he plays a team, he becomes fantastic and he's able to set Rangers up and he's able to negate them. Well, I'm sorry, we've played Celtic twice now at Parkhead. Well, 3 times actually, and he got a good result the second time. But he's just been hammered again. Now, that I find it difficult to defend the manager on that. Now, I understand the players cross that white line and it's up to them. And they have to have the mentality. But ultimately, Van Bronckhorst is the manager and he has to ensure that these players are ready. And they weren't ready. And you can go through every single goal. Every single one of those goals is preventable. I think that is the thing that annoys me the most. Now, I am fair. I like to think I'm fair, and I like to give credit to the other team when Rangers are on the wrong side of the result. I don't think Celtic were great on Saturday. Now, I know I might take criticism for that, but I don't think Celtic got out of second gear. I don't like saying that. They were comfortable, and we made it comfortable. Switching off at quick throw-ins, switching off at set pieces, no bravery in possession. It was just all round poor. And I think Van Bronckhorst has to take, he's going to get criticism for it. And I think he should. His away record in domestic football is pretty poor. Let's be honest here. I think I read it today. Is it 6 wins, 5 draws, 2 defeats? 2 defeats have been against Celtic. That domestic form will not win you a league title. It just won't. It needs to improve, and it needs to improve now. So I agree with Andy. The problem is, I think we would have been able to address a lot of these issues with the transfer window. That is now gone. So it's up to the manager to try and bring those European performances to the league. I understand that we can't play the same way that we do in Europe in the league because it doesn't work, but he needs to try and get that level of performance out the team domestically. It's not good enough right now. The manager deserves criticism from me, and I lost a lot of faith in him at the weekend. I don't like saying that, but I did. You can't go to Parkhead and get beat like that twice. You just can't. It's not allowed as a Rangers manager. You've got to have success both domestically and in Europe, and he's not doing that right now. It's harsh, but it's the truth, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think there's a lot in there I agree with. There's some stuff I think you've gone in a wee bit on Gio there. I think it's a wee bit harsh. I think when you see his reaction, especially when the quick free kick's taken for the second goal, it's quite clearly something they've worked on and quite clearly something they've emphasised as well. And you mentioned as soon as the players cross the white line, the manager, there's only so much a manager can do, and it's up to the players. I think Scott Mitchell comes in and says the very least you expect is players to run themselves into the ground, and we didn't get that on Saturday. And I think that's very fair. It didn't feel like it was the biggest game of the season for them and for us. Sorry, and it didn't feel like the players were fully up for it and fully into it. Even you look at John Lundstrom's performance, for example, he seemed more interested in trying to throw his weight about than he did trying to take control of the game and control possession, like we've seen him do in so many games. Stephen Davis just looked a bit lightweight in that midfield, and the midfield was completely overrun. And that's as soon as that happens, you're going to lose an Old Firm game like that. But like you say, I think the most frustrating thing was that all of the goals were preventable, and all of the goals came from us switching off. We'll leave out the last one because that's just I don't know what you say about the last one. But you, like Andy said, we're always aware that Celtic turn the ball around quickly. It's been part of them for the past year Plus, we spoke about it last week. Across, I think, all podcasts, we spoke about how quickly Celtic turn the ball around, and we need to be on the front foot with all that, and just do the small things, do the things that teams do to us. Kick the ball away, stand on the ball, be smart about it. Don't just moan it. And why be moaning at the referee as well when that's the case? Decisions are going to go against you. I actually thought the referee was all right on Saturday. I don't think the referee did much wrong. So it's so frustrating. Andy, was it just a bad day at the office, or do you think it was symptomatic of something more? I've seen a lot of suggestions kind of saying that it suggests a deeper issue within the team itself, a deeper issue within the club as a whole. Some people are directing their anger towards the board for that. It seems from Gio's comments last week that he was happy with the squad, and he was quite relaxed that we have the squad to take us forward to at least January and keep us in that competitive space. Which one do you think it was, or do you think it's just a combination of everything, really?
I think so, Craig. I think it's a combination of both of them. Gio saying that last week, he's happy with the squad. I don't believe for 1 second that's the case. If I'm being brutally honest with you, I don't believe he does believe that that's the case. If you look across the city, now look back at last season, Celtic were chasing Eddie Howe for how many months? I can't remember how many months it was. And they finally got Ange Postecoglou. I think there was 4 or 5 weeks before they kicked their ball in the Champions League playoffs. Now, in fact, it was that close to the Champions League playoffs, there was worry over his licence. As soon as he came in, he took 4 weeks to buy certain players, and the start of the season was very, very poor. I think he lost to us at Ibrox. I think he lost at Hearts, and somewhere else rings a bell. He lost his first 3 away games, and since then they've went undefeated. And if you look at the way they play now, the Celtic, the whole Celtic Football Club is bought into his ethos. I'm not so sure that's happening at Rangers at the moment. I don't think Gio has been given the backing that he perhaps should have done. You qualify for the Champions League, you should be looking to add players. Now, we have added players, and some of them I think will go on to be good Rangers players. Lawrence, Tillman, Cholak, etc. But that doesn't change the fact we bought a left back for £4 million that we don't play because he's not ready. Would you pay that money for him then? He's either ready or he's not. If he's not ready, you don't buy him. I don't really know what happened with Matondo on Saturday in the right wing. I believe he was ill.
I think it was illness. Yeah, it was illness confirmed today.
So that's fine. You can completely wipe that off. That's very unfortunate. We seem to be very unfortunate when it comes into games against Celtic when it comes to injuries and illness and whatnot. That's often the case. But on the whole, I think the ethos behind the manager isn't what it should be. And that tied in with a very bad day at the office from key players, let's be honest, Ryan Kent, Steve Davis, the goalkeeper. Key players not having a good day at the office didn't help matters, and that all culminates into a disastrous result at Celtic Park. And I totally agree with Ross. The manager has to take some of the blame. I'm not going to be quite as harsh as Ross was on him, but you cannot go to Celtic Park and be beaten that way twice. But that said, I would still back him at the moment. But he's got to turn it around very quickly, and as I say, it's got to be maximum points from now till November, whenever the World Cup kicks off.
Can I just reiterate something? I'm not calling for the manager's head. I know that was strong from me there. Okay, I'm not calling for the manager's head. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst will be backed by the fans. He'll be backed by me, but he gets all the credit that he deserves for Rangers' European performances, and he deserves all of the credit for that. You know, he took us all the way to the Europa League last year, not his squad, and he's qualified that team for the Champions League. He's doing a fantastic job in Europe, but you have to criticise him for the domestic. You can't. There's this thing at the moment with Rangers fans, he's doing all this in Europe, you know, so we'll just let the domestic stuff go. I'm sorry, it's Rangers. You've got to deliver on both. He's got to get. He can get all the plaudits for the European performance, but he must get criticised for domestic football. But I'm not calling for the manager's head. I'd just like to reiterate that. I know it was quite strong. I've got full confidence he can turn it around. There's just some glaring deficiencies right now, and I think we can all see that. So I've got confidence he can change that.
Yeah, well, that you kind of touched on my next point there. I was going to say that we very much seem like a team that's built for Europe, but then we struggle domestically because of that. Whereas Celtic very much seem like a team that's built to steamroll everyone domestically, and then if it works in Europe, it works in Europe. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But they're going to be they're going to be top of the league or at least challenging, because they know they're going to score 3, 4, 5 goals every single week. And I think that's where part of my frustration comes from, is that especially last season we seemed to get to 2-0 and then we'd just stop. We would just slow down a lot. We wouldn't be creating as much. We would be a bit lackadaisical in possession, and the game would finish 2-0, 2-1, on occasions 2 each at times, but we'd stop at 2-0, and that's where a lot of, I guess, my frustration comes from. Ross, you mentioned that Gio gets the credit for the European performances. Why do you think he does so well in Europe but not domestically? I've seen a lot of people talking about he has this handbrake on when we go, especially away games domestically. Is that the reason, you think, or why do you think there's such a difference in that actually we're beating and we're really competing well with better teams? We saw playing PSV, and beating PSV away is no mean feat this season with the quality of squad they've got. But then we go to Celtic Park and put in a performance like that. What do you think the difference is, and how do you reckon we can fix it?
Well, I think the performance on Saturday is a bit of an outlier, to be honest. I'm not, like I said at the beginning, I don't think that game had anything to do with the tactical approach. I just think we did not have the mentality to show up. As for the European performance compared to the domestic performance overall, I think Van Bronckhorst's style is all about control. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to mean you have to have hold of the ball 60, 65%, of the game. He just wants to feel in control of the game. Even if Rangers are under pressure, he wants to feel like we have a good shape. And once we get the ball, we can build out from it. And that's what it's all about. The problem you've got in domestic football is most teams will sit behind the ball and they will let you control the game in terms of possession. But as soon as you get to the final third, they're going to make it really tough. And I just don't think he's worked out yet, based on the players that we have, how to create the most chances. That is our problem. We don't create enough chances. That is it. And that is ultimately the big issue. We just don't seem to be able to cut teams open regularly. And Celtic, you're right, they have a style that suits domestic football. They smother teams. We all know that's what they do. The first 25, 30 minutes, they will smother a team. And their goal is to get up by at least a couple of goals, because they know after that most domestic teams will chuck it, right? It's very difficult to get back in the game against an old firm team when you're 2 goals down, right? We just don't seem to have that mentality. It's more about let's control the game. Let's make sure we don't concede a goal early. Let's just ease ourselves into the game. And I actually think that's what brings the anxiety sometimes at Ibrox, because I think we all feel that the team have so much more and they just don't seem to push. And he's going to... That's ultimately what I feel the problem is, right? It's all about control for him. And he's not been able to tweak it yet for domestic football to work out how we can create more chances. This is my problem, though. He's been here for 10 months now. I think he's had his bedding in time. I think he should have worked this out by now, in my opinion. It might sound harsh, but I'm just going on the evidence that I'm seeing. There's plenty of domestic performances where we're just below par. And we should be steamrolling teams. Let's be honest. I'm not saying we should be scoring goals at the same rate as Celtic. They have a style that we just don't have, and they have a style that cuts teams open more regularly than we do. But we should be more comfortable against teams. We should be beating teams by 2, 3, 4 goals regularly, and we just don't. So ultimately, I think that's the problem. There's too much control in our game. We're too safe, and you're right. That phrase you used, the handbrake on. It's hard to disagree with that. I don't know how you both feel, but it is hard to disagree with that sentiment of the handbrake being on. That's the way I feel.
Yeah, I think so. I think at times we're too happy just passing the ball around the back, and we're too happy just going Goldson, Sands, Lundstrom, Goldson, Tav, Goldson, Sands, Barisic, back in there. And just I've seen that pattern so many times at Ibrox, and it's just like you're wasting minutes in games where you should be pressing for a goal, and especially in our position where we should be dominating the vast majority, if not all, teams in Scotland. So I absolutely agree in that one. Andy, just touching on a point that Ross brought up there, he spoke about we don't create enough chances, and ultimately that comes from our forward players. We seem to have a striker who, if we create him chances, he's going to find the back of the net more often than not. And Cholak, I think he's had a great start to the season. He doesn't offer as much outside the box as Morelos does potentially, but I think he's a much deadlier finisher than Morelos is, and I would put my house on him scoring far before I'd put my house on Morelos scoring. But I want to talk about Ryan Kent. a little bit. I was really disappointed with Ryan Kent at the weekend, and his performance, his contribution. He just did not look interested to me for large spells of the game. To me, he's not offering enough at the moment. I would be interested in your thoughts on that one. He used to make such a big impact on these games as well, especially when he first arrived, and that just seems to have completely disappeared. It may be that Celtic have figured out a way to play against him. It may be that he's lacking confidence, but I do feel that we need much more from Ryan Kent, especially in the big games, don't we?
Yes, I do. That said, though, I don't think it was all his fault on Saturday. He certainly switched off. He wasn't anywhere near as effective. But I actually think that's down to the fact we had three basic holding midfield players. So you had the back four, then you had Davis, Lundstrom, and Kamara, and then the distance between them and Kent, Tillman, and Cholak was so vast that he found it hard to get into any decent forward places to create any chances. In fact, the only chances were really created by a good ball from Barisic, really, from Kent's side of the pitch. Okay, he was involved in that, but on the whole, he's not offering anywhere near enough, and that's been the case for quite a while now. I think a lot of that, though, perhaps is down to who we've just played. We've just played Celtic, whose wingers offer so much more, and you're seeing that in newspaper headlines and in Twitter statuses and almost on a weekly basis now, just how much Jota and Abada are offering the Celtic team in terms of goals and assists. Ryan Kent used to offer that to Rangers, and when he didn't offer it to Rangers, he offered so much more that quite often he would attract the attention of two or three defenders, thus leaving space for central midfielders, quite often Scott Arfield, to run through and score. It's quite simplistic that, but that is the case. That's sadly not happening now. I don't think it is that Celtic know how to play against him. I think it's more that he's went a wee bit backwards, sadly. But when it came to the first two goals, one of them the throw, which he switched off and turned his back on, and secondly, he gave the ball back to the Celtic player to take a quick free kick and walked away from it with his back to the ball. That's unforgivable at Celtic Park. And he's going to have a massive 11 days now to turn a lot of Rangers fans' minds round. This is the time to do it, though. When you're away to Ajax, where you should have a bit of space when you're breaking forward, then you're at Aberdeen, where he won't have any space, but it's his job to make that space and create chances. And then again, Rangers at home to Napoli, it should be influential again then at Tynecastle. This is his time to try and get back on side with a lot of Rangers fans who really are kind of angry with him at the moment, and quite rightly so, in my opinion. I've got confidence that he can pull it back and he can have a good 4 games, but he's going to have to do it, because the money we paid for Ryan Kent under Gerrard, he was phenomenal, and year by year he's went backwards. He's had injury problems, yes, but when he comes back into the team, we're looking for a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely, Ross. Just to get your thoughts, on Ryan Kent, and a point Andy raised there. An argument for Ryan Kent for quite a long period of time has been he doesn't quite get the numbers that we want to see from him, but he does provide so much more to the team in terms of an outlet, in terms of pulling other defenders, pulling more than one defender onto him, which creates space for others, and all of that side of things. It doesn't seem to have been doing that in recent games. Do you feel like he offers us enough without the numbers, or do you feel like we actually really need someone who provides those numbers? I mean, Andy mentioned Abada. I mean, he's already got 6 goals this season from a very similar position to what we play Ryan Kent in. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I'm not as critical of Ryan Kent, to be honest with you. I think Ryan Kent gets a bit of a raw deal from the fans sometimes. I'm not going to excuse him for Saturday's performance, and he made a great point there. He's complaining about the throw-in. It's not our throw-in. And as soon as the referee gives, the throw-in the other way, it's time to just switch on. He's complaining. He's out of position. They score from it. The second one, again, Andy's bang on. He gives Callum McGregor the ball. That's one of the things you're always told, don't do that. If you've lost a foul, keep hold of the ball or stand in the way of it or throw it away, whatever. It's unlikely you're going to get booked. He gives him the ball, then he turns his back. So I can't protect him for that. I'm not going to defend him for that. He had a poor game on Saturday, but they all did. So I'm not going to go too hard. I do think he gets a bit of a raw deal, though. As for the numbers, of course, he has to get more numbers. I can't I can't come on here and defend that. You know, this guy is our, let's be honest, main creative outlet. He must be providing more for us, and he isn't. But I do feel sorry for him sometimes. I mean, you look at the balance of that Rangers team on Saturday. You just think about it, a bit of a tactical view, right? He's got the three midfielders behind him are all arguably holding midfielders. I know Kamara, you could maybe say can play one forward, but he's pretty much a six, right? He's then got a left back in Barisic, who had a good game, but he's not really willing to get round him as much as he does anymore. Then the next link to him is Cholak, who we all know is not really a striker that's going to come to feet and play off. He doesn't have anyone around him. This guy he's tasked with doing a lot on his own. He definitely has to improve. 100% he has to improve. But I think he's harshly criticised sometimes, Ryan Kent. I think the guy is marked out the game. He's got 2-3 men on him every time, and he's just expected to beat 3 men every time and crack it top corner. It's not realistic. Of course, he has to get more numbers, but I think he is a bit of a raw deal, to be honest. So I'm going to defend him here.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're saying you expect him to beat, or we're expecting him to beat 2 or 3 men and then crack it top corner. I can't remember the last time I saw him crack it top corner, so given the amount of shots he takes. But we'll leave that there. Moving on to some of today's news, Ross, I'm going to stick with you. I know you said you don't see very much with the TV deal, so I'll put that all on Andy when we come to that one. But just on I don't know if you saw about the new strip that was unveiled by Sports Direct. I guess today is kind of the way we're getting used to seeing new strips come live, isn't it, on the Sports Direct website, which isn't the best. It's all black. You get blue detailing for the badge and for the Castor logo. Red, white, and blue pinstripes. I think it's disgusting. What are your thoughts?
It's an absolute shocker, mate. Let's be honest. It really is. And I think I was on the podcast maybe a month or two ago when they brought out the away kit for this season, and I said at the time I didn't like it. I just don't think Castor have done very well with our away kits. And I don't know if you've seen some of the away kits down south that Castor have produced, but they're fantastic. So we've kind of been left to the side since they've got some Premier League deals, clearly. It's a shocker. It really is. It looks fake. It looks like a trading top. It's not great at all. It's definitely one that I will not be purchasing, put it that way. And in fact, I don't even know when they're going to wear it. Is it rumoured to be the away? Is it the third kit for Europe? Is that it?
I've seen it rumoured that it would be the third kit for Europe. I'm not entirely sure how that works against the teams that we're up against, or if it's even required. But the less we wear it, the better, in my opinion, to be honest. And I definitely won't be splashing the 65, 70 quid on that one. It's been a bit of a mixed bag from Castor this year. I really like the home top, really like the third top. I think the away top is leaves a lot to be desired, I think I'll say. And then the one today is just a disaster all round. Andy, yourself, just get your views on the top. Have you had the chance to see it today?
Yes, and I'll not be buying it. I think it's absolutely horrific, and I think it's unnecessary. I mean, there might be a law in place that you need a third strip for Europe, and if so, that's fine. But I mean, we're kind of used to it, I suppose, as Rangers fans now. But it takes a lot of balls, I suppose, to qualify for the Champions League, not buy anybody, charges 180 quid for the tickets, and release that. That takes a lot of nuts, I'll tell you. But I'll not be buying it. No chance. Yeah,
I'm sure we'll see plenty of people with it on around Ibrox and stuff like that, but I don't think many of them, or if any of them, will be TII podcasters. I think it's safe to say, going by the reaction today. Andy, just sticking with yourself, it was revealed today that the SPFL's proposed new TV deal, or TV deal extension with Sky Sports, was in jeopardy. It's mooted to be £30 million a year, up from £25 million a year that clubs get at the moment, rumoured to be from, I think, 2024 through to 2029 as the extension of the deal. It's been well highlighted, I believe, in terms of where Scottish football's TV earnings sit compared to other countries. I believe that 11 clubs in the Premiership voted in favour of this extension, with Rangers the only one. And Rangers didn't even vote. Rangers just missed the deadline to even cast a vote, which meant the proposition failed. And I think there's a few ways forward in terms of adjustments to the deal, or actually taking a whole new approach and potentially inviting other broadcasters to give them the opportunity to bid for the package. It seems strange that the SPFL were trying to push through this deal anyway, Andy, doesn't it? In terms of it not being really that much of an increase. And then when you see Norway, for example, getting £70 million a year for their TV deal, I think it's almost crazy that they've not tried to even instigate a bidding war, isn't it?
Well, that's the point. Everything you do when it comes to rights of anything, I suppose, really should be put out to tender. Now, we were talking on WhatsApp earlier. It used to be years ago, you'd buy your Sky Sports package and that got you to watch the football you wanted to watch. English football, Scottish football, whatever it may be. It's not like that anymore. You have Amazon Prime, you have BT Sports, you have Premier Sports. Now, if you were to get all the subscriptions, you're probably upwards of 60, 70 quid a month just to watch football. So the sky is not the limit, is my point here. There's plenty of other options available. I don't understand why they don't go and try and find a better deal, more worthwhile to all the teams in Scotland, if you like. Sky can't be the one and only. It's as simple as that. It doesn't make any sense to have one company that you go to and sign off the rights for 5-6 years until then. It doesn't make any sense to me. But that then is just normally in line with Scottish football being undersold. Now, I made a wee joke in the WhatsApp group earlier about when was the last time there was a real good Super Sunday, and that's a fact. The money that gets thrown about down in England, and sometimes the standard of football is poor, the atmosphere's poor, the games are poor, but the money's absolutely frightening. Now, we don't offer the best quality football on the planet, but we're certainly better than some of the teams who get almost double what we're being offered. The countries that, like Denmark, Sweden, things like that, we're definitely a more appealing task for them, you know. Rangers v Celtic is a massive draw, and Rangers or Celtic away from home is still a massive draw. It's certainly worth more than that. I sometimes wonder why it seems to always be Rangers are the lone soldier in these fights, and I think a lot of it has to do with they try and perceive it as a witch hunt against Doncaster, which it possibly could be. You could argue that it's that we've made it clear we do not think he does his job properly or well enough. But this kind of thing just highlights it again. Between that and the Cinch deal, I mean, I can't remember the numbers of the Cinch deal, Craig, you can maybe correct me, but I think we got quite considerably less per year than Tottenham got for a sponsor on the side of the shirt. You know, and that's absolutely ridiculous. Now, of course, you're comparing England to Scotland, and that's silly when you think of the attraction the English league's got. But in essence, it's the same thing. We're undersold again and again and again. And to be honest with you, I'm sick to death of Rangers being the lone soldier in this. Now, I think they will go forward and they'll change the voting rules rather than I think it had to be a 12-0 at present, but now they're trying to change it to an 11-1, which means it'll sail through. It will go through, and we'll no doubt put a letter into the SFA stating our disgust at it again, and nothing will change. It's until other teams realise we're being undersold and back us up a wee bit, and then maybe we can go with a bit more gusto at them. Yeah,
Ross, I know you've not seen all the details of the TV deal, but just as a bit of a general point on that, it seems crazy to me that the SPFL board, which is made up of the clubs, obviously some recommendations come from the likes of Neil Doncaster, and with his 400 grand a year salary, it seems like the easiest 400 grand anyone could ever make. But it's just crazy that they would recommend a deal that undersells the game so much, and for them to recommend this isn't the first bad recommendation that they've made on looking in from the outside anyway. I mean, there's been countless number of them that have been covered extensively on this podcast, but I don't know why, and I assume you'll be the same in terms of, I don't understand why anyone would want to undersell the game and almost set us even further behind the 8 ball than we already are.
Yeah, it's strange to sign up to a deal of that length and you know that you're underselling the Scottish game. I think that's the bit that surprises me. The main thing that surprises me is that no one else has a problem with it. And I think Andy touched upon it there. That is the bit that I don't understand. Surely other teams are looking at this deal and feel that we could do better. Now, it might be slightly different, but I'm sure, was it not Hearts, Hibs, Dundee United, Aberdeen and another club got Deloitte in to have a review of the Scottish game and where we were going wrong and how we could market it better and things. I don't understand how they can then come out of that, see that we should be making more money and we should be marketing the game better, and then have no issue signing this deal. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't really understand. Like I said, I haven't read a lot of it today, so I don't want to say anything that turns out to be incorrect and influential, but it's just, I don't understand how no one else has an issue with this deal. We're underselling ourselves. You know, we do have a good product here. You know, it's maybe not the best quality in terms of technical quality, but we have passion in this game. And I know that's a bit of a cliche, and it's like, oh, we've got passionate, but we do. We've got passionate fans. We've got the Old Firm. We've got some great games. Edinburgh Derby. That's a great game to watch right now. You know, we've got a product here that we should really be selling, and we're not. And I don't really understand why.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't agree more with that one. Right, we're already over our time, but we'll keep powering on. We've got a big game on Wednesday to look forward to. Andy, a visit to Amsterdam to play against Ajax. I don't think we're expecting an easy game, it's fair to say. Ajax are a high quality team. They've got our very own Calvin Bassey leading the line at the back, and from what I hear, he's been getting rave reviews and his performances so far. How are you feeling about that game? I know it probably overshadowed a wee bit by the weekend's performance, but in terms of looking ahead to Wednesday, how are you feeling heading into that game? Excited to be back in the Champions League for real, against a big team, a big name, and I mean, they're a team that PSV challenge quite a bit when they go head to head. How do you feel having beaten PSV that we can shape up against a team like Ajax?
As crazy as it sounds, and after all we've just been through in the last 35 minutes or so, I'm ever so slightly more confident of getting a result in Amsterdam than I am in Aberdeen. And that's for obvious reasons, but we seem to be excelling in Europe. Now, this is a pot one team. This is not going to be easy. And sadly, I've only had a quick look at their latest results, and they seem to be doing well. Plenty of shutouts, plenty of goals scored. They're top of their table. But I kind of rely on our very own Patrick Caskey. He normally does a thread on all European opponents, which he done about 35 minutes ago, just before this started. So I think I was only on the third tweet before this kicked off. So I'll do my research with Patrick's thread very, very shortly. I say I'm confident. That's a bit tongue-in-cheek. It's going to be a very, very hard game, but I think it will suit us more. It will suit us better over there. It's going to be a hard atmosphere, but we've experienced that before. We've showed that we can go and get a result in PSV only a couple of weeks ago, and I think PSV gave them a right good game. Was it a couple of weeks ago? I think that, I don't know how it finished, but I think Ajax won, but it was very, very close, and we proved we can do it against PSV. So there's that. But it's just great to be back in the Champions League proper. I'm really looking forward to these 6 games, really, especially the ones at Ibrox. I've used to enjoy them when I was younger, and now we've got it back again. I'm really looking forward to it. But to answer your question, I'm slightly more confident than I possibly should be after Saturday, but that will fluctuate between now and 7:45 on Wednesday night, so we'll judge it a bit closer then.
Yeah, well, by 7:45 Wednesday night, we'll know the result, because it's a crazy early kickoff, I think, isn't it? It's a 5:45 kickoff. And
oh, is it really? There you go.
So I'm glad you're now not going to miss the game. Ross, same questions to you. How you feeling about Wednesday night? How do you think we'll shape up against a team like Ajax?
Yeah, I'm with Andy on this one. It's a bit of a strange one. I am quietly confident. I don't think we have enough to win over there. I'll be honest with you, but I would absolutely snap your hand off for a dollar right now. Yeah, this is a big test again. I think I'm with Andy on this one. It'll just be great to see Rangers play in the Champions League again. You know, I don't think anyone is expecting Rangers to qualify from this group, but we want to go in there and make a real good account of ourselves and show how good a team we are in Europe and how well we performed last year, and show it's not just one of those freak kind of European runs. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be very tough though. This Ajax team are really good, has some really good players. You know, Dusan Tadic is always the one that sticks out for me. It was at Southampton, wasn't great for Southampton, moved to Ajax and he's absolutely exploded. You know, he's 3 times the player he was in the Premier League. So looking forward to seeing him. And of course, playing against Calvin Bassey, it'll be surreal, to be honest, playing against him. I'm a wee bit disappointed that Morelos isn't in shape right now, because that would have been some hell of a contest to watch, the two of them going against each other. It would just be fantastic, especially in that away environment, because Morelos thrives off that. It would just been so good to watch the two of them going at it. But yeah, I'm quietly confident. I don't think we could probably win, but listen, I've said that before, and we've pulled off fantastic results, Dortmund, even PSV. So listen, this is what it's all about. This is what we wanted, isn't it? We wanted Champions League back. We wanted the opportunity to watch our team in this stage again, and we're here. So we need to try and put Saturday behind us now, focus on this game, and try and give the best account of ourselves, and really go out there and show how good a team we are. Saturday was a bit of a freak result. We are a good team. We have to remember that, and hopefully the players go out there and they show that.
Yeah, you mentioned Dusan Tadic there. They've also signed Steven Bergwijn. I can't remember how you say his name, but from Spurs, who's also a top quality player. I think he's been banging in the goals since he's arrived as well. And I think they've sold quite a fair chunk of players as well. Sandro Martinez to Man United being one of them. I think they made like 100 million.
Yeah, they sold Anthony to Man United as well for 95 million or something. So again, their recruitment strategy and able to make money is just absolutely amazing. They just seem to turn over players but keep that level. So I've heard this before, but that is what you strive for. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That is the model that Rangers should be pushing for. That might seem a wee bit unrealistic, but that is something that we should strive to get to, that ability to churn out players, sell them on, make money, and keep going and building the infrastructure of the club. So yeah, they're a fantastic club, Ajax.
Absolutely, I agree with that one. And in terms of how we'll set up for the game, I imagine it would be very similar to how we set up against PSV. Obviously, sad that Tom Lawrence is missing, because he's played such a big part in the way we've played so far this season. How do you see us setting up? Any surprises in the starting lineup at all, do you think?
I don't think there'll be many surprises. What I will say is I don't think we'll see Tillman where he was on Saturday. I think if anything, he'll have his normal back four of Tav, Goldson, Sands and Barisic. I think it will be Lundstrom and probably Kamara. And I think he'll play Kent, Tillman, and I think it'll probably be Arfield. I think Arfield might play in there with Cholak up front. I can't see it being any different from that. Unfortunately, Tom Lawrence is going to miss out, and that's going to be a massive miss for us. Not just on Wednesday night, for the next 3 or 4 weeks. I think he'll be a massive miss for us. I'm still hoping and expecting big things from Matondo. I think he's going to come good. A lot of folk have written him off already. I've not. I learned last year from John Lundstrom that I'm not going to write him off, and I swear blind I'm not going to. I watched him against Queen of the South last week in Ibrox, and I wasn't overly impressed, same as we all weren't, but I think he's going to come good. I don't know if Wednesday night's a game for him. I think it'll definitely be a typical European away performance against a pot one opposition, and I think that'll be the team he goes with. And I just hope we don't see Tillman out in that right wing again, because he was lost on Saturday and he'll be lost everywhere else he plays like there. He's got to be central.
Yeah, I have to agree with that one. I think Tillman's been really good for us in a lot of games, but he's went missing in a couple of the big ones so far. He went missing in PSV at home, and he also went missing at the weekend there. So I'm hoping that giving him that central role, which is really where he should have been playing on Saturday as well, is will reap the rewards from our perspective, because we know he's a talent. We just need to make sure that he plays in the right place. Ross, I think it was yourself actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, that mentioned that we can't expect every player to be like Joe Aribo, and we can't expect every player to be as versatile as Joe Aribo. I think Malik Tillman falls precisely into that category, doesn't he?
Yeah, it was me that said this. I think there's Joe Aribo has set this false expectation of football players that you can just put them anywhere and you'll get a performance out of them. And if you remember, that is why Gerrard rated Joe Aribo so highly. He came out and said all the time, I can put this guy wherever and he will give me a performance. That's an exception. Most football players have a role. They are trained and developed to play that role, and that's really where they need to play. Can they fill in somewhere for 15, 20 minutes? Potentially. We've seen that Malik Tillman is either a number 10 that plays right behind the striker, or he can play up front. We've seen that for Bayern Munich as well, and he's definitely got the physicality to do that. And that wouldn't surprise me if that happens eventually this season, right? We can't play him in the right wing. I think what you've just said there, I think the two performances you highlighted were obviously Parkhead at the weekend, and the other one was PSV at home. Both of those games he played on the right, because we played Lawrence and Davis centrally with Lundstrom, I believe, at home to PSV, and Tillman played off the right, and he just didn't have the impact. He's just not got the pace across the ground. That's not the type of player he is. He's a fantastic player, but that's not the type of player he is. So hopefully that experiment is now done. Am I thrilled that Scott Arfield is probably going to go out there? No, but he's played that role several times for Rangers. He's also done it several times in Europe, and he's played well for us. So I'm fine with that. I actually agree with Andy's 11 completely. I expect it to be exactly what Andy said. I don't see him playing Scott Wright. I see him going for Scott Arfield. I think he brings in experience after that game on Saturday. I don't think he takes any risks in potentially playing on the break. I don't see him bringing Rabi Matondo back in. Again, exactly the same as Andy. Need to give these boys time. Rabi Matondo, Ridvan Yilmaz, they're only 21. Okay, I know we've paid a lot of money for them, but transfer fee doesn't mean anything once they're into the club. You've paid the money, they're in the club now. You need to give these boys time. So, yeah, I'm with Andy. Exactly the same 11. And please don't put Tillman on the right, because he's such a good football player and he does his best work in the middle. And listen, if he's through the middle, we've got a chance. Honestly, we've got a chance. So, yeah, please don't put him on the right.
Yeah, I love that in the space of 10 minutes, you've gone from we've got no chance to we've got a chance. literally 10 minutes, probably even slightly more, right? So I've been
like that since Saturday, to be honest, mate. I've been up and down. So yeah, I apologise. I'll probably in 5 minutes, if you ask me again, I think we're going to get scudded 5-0. So it's one of those, isn't it?
Let's just finish off. Let's round off. We're just past the 45-minute stage, so let's round off with some score predictions. Andy, come to you first on that one.
I'll go for the old fence-sitting Andy that always happens here, 2 each. I think we've got it in us to score a couple of goals. As much as Saturday we just spoke about, the chances were few and far between. I think he will change it up. I think this game will suit us more. I can see us scoring a couple of goals. Just we look ever so shaky at the back when we're attacked with pace at the moment, Goldson included. So I don't see us keeping a clean sheet. So I'm going to sit right in the middle of the fence and go for 2 each. And I'll be honest with you, I'm with Ross on this. I would take that immediately.
Yeah, Ross, and your thoughts on scoreline?
Do you want my staunch answer or do you want my honest answer?
Let's go for staunch first and then honest after that.
So staunch, I'm going to go for 2-1 Rangers. That's my result. But my honest answer, I think Ajax might have a wee bit too much for us. Listen, a home tie is completely different. I will back Rangers to get a result against anyone. Just think away from home, that first Champions League tie might see the team struggle a wee bit with the level. It is up on our level. I'm going to go with 3-1 Ajax.
Yeah, I have to agree with your honest answer there. If I'm being honest, I'd be delighted if we scored a goal. If I'm being completely honest, in my head, it's going to be a tough night at the office. It'll be a real measure of where we are as a team on these European nights, and I think it might be a wee bit of a baptism of fire. I think it's a bit different if you're starting with your first game at home. We know what Rangers are like at Ibrox, and that extra 10-15% that they get from playing there. I think being away from home and against such a good quality team that are quick, as you say, I think we will struggle to create a lot of chances, if I'm being honest. And I think Ajax might run out 2-0 winners. I'd love to be proven wrong, and I'd take 2 each every day of the week, Andy, but I think Ajax will be 2-0 winners. But I think it'll be interesting to see how we measure up against them, and then we start looking forward to the rest of the group at that. Right, I think that definitely just about does us for tonight. So Andy, thanks very much for joining us.
Anytime.
And Ross, same to yourself. Thanks very much for joining us at late notice.
Yep, thanks, mate. Felt good to get that rant out at the beginning. Thanks for facilitating that.
Anytime. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening as well. Please remember to subscribe to the TII YouTube channel. And remember to turn on those notifications as well, so you get an email every time we go live or a new podcast is uploaded. We are live with our midweek bulletins 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 7 p.m. And we're also live for a full hour on a Sunday at 8 p.m. as we take a look back at the week that's just been and the week ahead. Thanks very much for listening, and until next time, goodbye.